Hello again, PCQI, and welcome back to our All About Compliance YouTube channel. In this segment, we're going to be discussing a request from one of our PCQI out on the field. They have been tasked to source and import a coffee powdered product. So they had sent it to me to kind of have a open discussion of what their requirements are. And like I said in my previous videos, if you have any topics you want me to cover, please email info@consultaireinc.com so we can then produce a video for you to have a reference on should you need it. And also thank you for your viewership and support. And I look forward to your emails. And every morning, that's what I do. I look at them and we talk about them. So this one part is sourcing and importing requirements. And this is going to be a coffee powdered product. Here we go again. Once again, PCQI, thank you for joining us. Let's begin on our sourcing and importing requirements discussion on a powdered product. In this particular example, it's a coffee powdered product. Now, let me read just some of the summary of the email, basically saying, hello, I've been trying to find blank, blank, blank coffee powder supplier and other powdered supplier that we can import. Okay, so I'm not going to name the country. We're just going to treat this as it's coming from overseas, coming into the United States. So let's have that topic. But in this particular email, it's slated to a different regulatory requirement on a different country that they're looking for to bring it in. And we're not going to mention that. For the sake of this discussion, we'll have everything coming into the United States. Okay. I would like to know, if we can purchase loose powder or if the supplier can meet my packaging requirement, which are, like below. And I looked at this part of this request from our PCQI on the field. They're looking for, loose powdered products and that's going to be meeting their packaging requirements. But they did not specifically provide that information of what they're looking for. So if I was tasked to do this, these are some of the things that I'm going to ask for preliminary questions. And of course, right, this is your own process, so please customize it based on your process. But I'm just going to mention some things that are overlooked sometimes. So I put on here, thank you for your inquiry. Here's what you need in the beginning. Once you need to have a specification sheet. You probably don't have this in the beginning because you don't know what type of products you're looking for. But get with your R&D or your formulator department. I'm sure the company, has somebody that's qualified to formulate these recipes or formula, right, for your finished product. So get a a specification on what that is. And if you don't have it, obviously be open when you are communicating these type of requests to suppliers, because they do get bogged down in a lot of inquiries. Sometimes if you don't know how to present yourself when you're calling companies and getting this information, they might even just pass you by because they're that busy. But if you are organizing your information and the way you ask question, if I'm receiving that inquiry, I know I'm talking to somebody, that's competent per se, right? That they actually know what they're looking for. I like that. It's going to make my job easier. Now, on the other hand, let me wear the other cap. I get these general inquiry, what do I have? So as a PCQI, I would, have these arranged already. So if there's an inquiry coming from sales, or perhaps work with sales and business development team, and basically says, okay, for this product, these are the spec sheets, these are the ingredient deck, allergen declaration, etc., etc. These are the specification for unit packs, case packs, pallet dimension, if we're shipping it overseas, this is my 20-foot container configuration, my 40-foot container configuration. This is the lead time for production for this particular product. It's going to take 90 days to produce the finished product because of this single particular ingredient that, it takes 2 to 3 months to come in. And obviously we can produce the finished product until I have everything in the warehouse, right? So as you communicate this, you are a practitioner at this point, and you are a PCQI, right? You just didn't take a certification course that your company or you paid for yourself, and then you took it in the university level, or you took it with FISPA and all of these other authorized provider of this certification for PCQI. You're actually, this type of discussion that we're having is actually performing how to become a PCQI and practicing PCQI or preventive controls, okay? So first things first on this one, specification sheets of what you're looking for. That's going to be so much easier. And then after that one is you got to then review your supplier approval program. Is this just for this project? Is it going to be continuous, right? As a PCQI, you also need to look at your supplier approval program or your approved supplier program, depending on, how you're reading that on the regulatory or on a certification standard. Now, if you go to interlinkiq.com and you log in, it's free access, right? The supplier module has what I'm about to talk about. It has all the requirements, how you communicate to your supplier as well as to your customer, and you can interlink those process in managing those documents back and forth, okay? So I'm just gonna name some of the requirements. If you need a complete list, please go to interlinkiq.com and then get your free access registry, go to the supplier module, open it up and start a new action and look at the requirements section after you fill out the basic information on your suppliers. And you'll get a lot of the requirements based on best practices that you can then customize of what you want for your supplier approval program. Now, let me go back to my point. So the point is in the supplier module or in your supplier, if you're doing this on your Excel, just a binder, or you're using another software system out there, make sure you have a status of that, because during a potential, let's say if you are certified, you're going through an audit, they're going to ask for your supplier register, and and they're going to start looking for identifying your approved supplier for your emergency use only. A do not use, you're going to have suppliers you're not going to be happy with and you don't want to work with them. So you might have a do not use, right? And then you have some, you have some that are still pending approval or non-approved yet, right? So those are type of things that you need to identify as a PCQI so you can then put your program together. Now, let me go back to some of the supplier requirement just based on this raw email that we got from our PCQI on the field. I've recommended if you're looking for these things and you're just kind of sourcing, remember, you're just an initial source, right? So you need to have, ask for a spec sheet for the raw materials, from your supplier, get your basic letter of guarantees, their letter of compliance to their particular categories, right? And then also ask them if they have a receiving SOP already built up for this particular material. What I mean by that is, remember, you are a preventive controller. So when this product comes in, what are your parameters, your protocols of receiving that product, right? So are you requiring it to be allergen tested? If it's a ready to drink or ready to eat product, right? Your Listeria rules, from that supplier, because you're just going to be mixing it and blending it, or, your salmonella requirements because it's a powdered products and whatnot. So it boils down to your food safety plan or your HACCP plan, okay, depending on your process. So you need to kind of start having that conversation. And then if you are really working with this potential supplier, get your quality or your food safety questionnaire, because that coincide with your supplier approval program, as well as how are you going to do the on-site audit? Are you going to personally go there and do that activity, Or are you going to rely on a third-party certification body to provide that for you? And what does their program look like? Now remember, if you don't have your own PCQI program, contact us for these, okay? If you're comfortable to what you have, make sure it relates also with your outsourcing this to a certification body, because there's their standards are set and they can customize it. I've worked with certification body auditors that when we ask them to do certain part of it, and their auditor are well versed on that actual activity, and you can add an addendum, right? There are big box stores there, I'm not going to mention them, right? But they have an addendum that they actually give to certification body that says, this is strictly for us. We want these things covered on top of the GFSI audit or the GMP or HACCP, whatever that customer requirement audit that's been put together and made into a standard. So be ready to prepare those, okay? Because that's there to protect you as a customer from your supplier. It's one of those things. So let me go back to the receiving SOP. If the supplier don't have them, obviously they're going to give you a COA and specification sheet and other pertinent information about that material. So take those information, create your own. And if you need help, contact me or contact our team, services@interlinkiq.com or services@consultairinc.com. My personal part of it that comes is info@consultair Inc. So if you just want to direct it to me so I can direct you to the team, perfect, right? So on the receiving SOP, you're going to have this information, and as a PCQI, you need to look and make an assessment. These are coming in. It has an allergen. Okay, how do I control that? Okay, they're testing for these particular toxins or these particular pathogens. How do I verify that? Now, in some of my deep audits, I have seen specs and COAs from 8 years ago, and it baffled me that that particular raw material had never changed. And then when we dig deeper, we found out that they never were collected. It's been changed every year by the supplier. For whatever reason, the person that had left before, some years back, that was handling that process, there was no complete turnover, or it was turned over and it was a mist. So we're not here to point a finger, but we recognized it. So then we revamped those receiving SOPs. So take a look at those. Now, in your receiving SOP, if you're testing these as part of your acceptance process of these raw materials or ingredients, you have to have your parameters set. So when your team is sending them to the lab to be tested, when it comes back, they can make a determination if it's a go or no go, pass or fail, return, whatever that process is, you need to have those written down, okay? And don't be too general on these, right? General SOPs create generals, you get it? And these generals, they argue who is in command. And when they argue, your food safety system fails. So let's not have a lot of generals, okay? Let's have specifics, okay? So when I'm doing your audit, I'm a very specific guy. What are we doing? And are we doing it? And is it verifiable? And is it validated? Is it working? Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. Now, once we have that, now if you don't have the parameters, contact us. Everything that I'm telling you on these videos, we provide. We are here to assist you in every way necessary, from program policy procedures, forms for records, training materials, software systems for whatever you're trying to get accomplished or implement, right? And all other slew of other technical support and services that we can provide. Let's go back to the point, on-site audits, right? Are you going to be doing that? And if you are going to be doing it, once again, go to interlinkiq.com, go to the risk assessment module on the left side, pointed out there are 400 sample questions there. Those are actually used by insurance companies, right, to make an assessment, and also for our PCQI to make an assessment on your risk factor for your facility. Now, these are very, very general, right? And they're very spot on. So there's going to be some things in there that's missing for your process. Let us know, because we customize these so you can have your quarterly audit, a module prepared for you. You can have your biannual, you can have your annual, or you can have even your certification remote audit set up, where our team can remote audit you along with your system to get you ready for that next step, as well as for your supplier. So we have clients that they do this type of assessment with their suppliers. Number one, it's not only the cost savings part of it, but number two is really staying on top of the requirements. And then based on those activities, they can then decide to say, okay, we'll use a certification body to go there on site, or I'll personally go there on site as a PCQI, or work with Arnell and consult their team to go on site and do a deep dive audit. So whatever your preference is, make sure you have on-site audit program, okay? And then the other part of it is certification requirements. So based on your customer requirement in this example, let's say you're going to be selling this to the big box stores, and their minimum is for you to have a GMP or a HACCP certification, or some sort of a GFSI like an SQF, BRC, FSSC 22000, IFS, and others, right? So whatever that is, take a look at those certification requirements. Now, I've done a video where not all certification bodies are acceptable. Unfortunately, this is true. Okay, we've worked with other big box stores where they had asked us who did the certification or the processes, and we had mentioned a particular certification body based on records, and they said unfortunately they're not on the list, and we need to have somebody on their preferred list. So please contact your customers when you are considering certification, right? Who do you prefer? Right? If they said, hey, as long as it's GFSI, it's following the standard, then you're okay. But if they're saying, please go to our website, we have a list of A to Z that we trust and like, use those, because you're not going to get in the door if that's going to be blocking you, right? So be smart about that. The next part of it is quality agreement. So in this part of their comment, quality agreement it's basically a line in a page, who's doing what, right? So in this part of it is I'm the customer, these are my responsibilities. So I'm gonna have my product acceptance program put together, where when you're finished, let's say co-manufacturing supplier, right? When you're finished, I'm going to test this based on these parameters, right? I'm going to taste it based on size, smell, taste. I'm going to send it to the lab and test it for these pathogens, and then for these type of toxins, or whatever that is on your product acceptance as a customer, because you're working with a co-packer or co-manufacturer. And then on the other side, the co-manufacturers will list all of their things that they need to comply with to meet your requirements. Now, part of this quality agreement, you also have some of these requirements based on customers. The big brand names out there have figured this out, right? They know all of these things that goes on in a food safety management system. So their questionnaire requirements is very robust. That they have full traceability just on the job and qualified personnel that's going to be handling their product, all the way to processing it in-house, notification, food safety events. If something happened with another product that don't belong in their process, but it's in the same production line, they have preventive measures and protocols and notifications. So, you need to have those as well, right? And start putting those together. And if you need assistance on that, let us know, okay? So that's your quality agreement. We can, we'll do a different video where we dissect the quality agreement, but there are some wonderful examples out on the internet, right? In the YouTube world and whatnot. And we're also going to create one specifically for our PCQI and food safety community, okay? So Now, the other part, so here's the next comment. It says, I need to find out the requirement or program that I need. So I listed some of these programs. We've mentioned supplier, so I'm just going to name programs. So supplier approval program, which we've covered already. The other part is if some of these materials, unfortunately, when you're dealing with powdered products, a lot of it is coming from Asia or Latin America, right? And not everything is produced here in the United States, so we rely on other resources. So part of that on the FSMA requirement is our FSVP, Foreign Supplier Verification Program. So you need to have that implemented. And if you don't think that the agencies in this event, or in this example, FDA is not checking, go to fda.gov, put FSVP recalls, or go to the warning letter section, and you'll see them, okay? They are showing up, and that's why we're doing these type of instructional or mentorship videos. So please put together an FSVP program, and we're going to create a dissection of that here shortly. It's coming, right? But anyways, let's move on to the next one. The other part of it in this example, I'm assuming RPCQI are brand owners, right? They don't have their own facility. So I'm just going to make that quick assumption, and this is what I'm going to need if I am a brand owner, PCQI. Obviously, I need to put together my brand owner management program. What do I need to deal with my supplier, co-packer, co-manufacturer, my transportation, storage, and warehouse, and things like that. So I put together a customer complaint program. That's one. Obviously, I'm going to be selling these products, and people are not going to be happy all the time, right? So I need to know how to work with those type of situation. So customer complaint program, or some of it is crisis management program that's incorporated with this, okay? So on that part, do I have an investigation process? Do I have a CAPA, corrective action, preventive action programs, right? So, what else do I need? I need an inventory management program. I also need a recall program, a product release program. So you're probably thinking, well, I accepted it with my co-manufacturers. Now I'm gonna, release it. What does that look like? So your product release program, it's also gonna be in tangent with the acceptable, product acceptability program that you're gonna create with your co-manufacturer. Because then this is where you can send this checklist, or in some event, depending on your brand, that you actually have a QA or QC that's on your payroll that's in this facility site, right? Those are the best because they work for you. They are your eyes and ears on the ground. Because you don't own the facility, you can't control that except, you control your own customer requirements implementation. So the product release program will then coincide with this, checking for label accuracy, checking for the right sizes, packaging materials, the way you ship it, all of your shipping and distribution requirements, temperature control should you need it, and all of those things. So we can talk all day about a product release program, and we'll do that on another video, okay? So next part of it is you need a warehousing and storage program, because now it's going to be in your possession, right? So are you sending it to somebody else to fulfill? Okay, great. Then they have their own management program for that. Are you going to manage that and have your own consolidator or consolidated warehouse? And what are your protocols in protecting, that product, for that? Other program I also added here is traceability program. Can you trace all of these things? You have a different recall, and then you have your traceability. Can you trace your finished product that's been delivered to you, right? And it's delivered to your first stop or another warehouse or another food service or a consolidation warehouse. Can you trace it from that and all the way back to your suppliers? So you're going to need to have a traceability program put together. Then the rest of this is about sachets and packaging costs and shipping costs, calculation. We'll do that video that was specifically requested by, our PCQI to cover those on future videos. He puts a lot of things in here because this is something that he's handling, and thank you for sharing that, inquiry to me. And I'm sure this is actually also going to assist other PCQI out there, that are given this type of task. But on your packaging cost and shipping cost, just on a brief answer to that, obviously you're going to get all of your specification, and then you're going to do your costing, calculation on all of this. I'm going to do a complete video on production cost, all the way to calculating, your real estate costs, employee costs, utilities, minute by minute, hour by hour, and then relating to your volume, right? So if you are, if your cost, just an example, it's costing you $10,000 a week to run your operation, your burn rate, right? Are you recouping that based on volume of your products that are out there in sale? So those are the type of topics that we're going to talk about. So when you're looking at your packaging cost and shipping cost evaluation, you're going to have to then take a look at your volume, because you're going to get asked that. Remember, when you're dealing with suppliers and vendors, they have different pricing matrix. Okay, so if you're only consuming this much, and they already calculated what I'm talking about, like it's going to cost me this much manpower, this is my fixed cost, plus this, and if you're only going to order this much, well, guess what? I'm going to take that cost, I'm going to put it on there on all the unit, plus the projected profit, because it's a business, right? Be mindful of that. They're providing your supply. Everybody is in it, right, to provide something for their family and to make a living. Obviously, a business is such a way, right? So they're gonna add that, so your cost is gonna be that high, okay? And then, but if you're ordering a lot and they're fixed cost, you see what I mean? So that's where it's, well, let me end it there. So I'm kind of getting into deep. That's my other cognitive thinking there. So PCQI, thank you for participating and for your viewership. If you see value to these content that we're producing, please share them with our fellow PCQIs and food safety professionals. And if you need help in any of these things that we're talking about, contact us, info@consultaireinc.com. Till then, have a great day, stay strong, and bye for now. Contact us. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks again, PCQIs. Have a good one.